which I'm joining, which is the traditional lands of the Dja Dja Wurrung people. And I would like to acknowledge that sovereignty of this land was never ceded. I would also like to acknowledge, before we kick off our discussion today, firstly, a really big thank you for you all for joining. I just wanted to acknowledge that it's quite a challenging context at the moment. Indeed, in actually pulling together this webinar and reaching out to a range of different people. And it was so interesting hearing people saying, you know, I would love to join, but I just can't at the moment. Our organisation is in crisis mode. I'm not able to join. Or actually people saying, I've actually lost my role. I'm not able to join. And others saying, you know what, I would love to join something like this, but due to sensitivities, I don't feel like I can say what I would like to say. So I just really like to acknowledge that. Thank you for carving out the time and just recognizing that it's really challenging. And I'm really hoping that we can chat through some of those challenges tonight and what this current context means. It's somewhere like Bangladesh, as we're looking at, you know, systems change and reforming the humanitarian system. With this particular massive change as well, you know, what does it all mean? So I did very much just want to, you know, acknowledge that, you know, things are challenging, and it was a real learning, actually, you know, putting together this seminar, just how deep some of these concerns are. So thanks very much. So I wanted to just introduce very briefly Humanitarian Advisory Group and Insights. Insights is the Institute of Innovation for Gender and Humanitarian Transformation. And Insights is an incredible organisation that we have worked with over many years and have been able to delve into a range of different challenging humanitarian issues. And we have Suman here with us this evening. I guess what's so exciting is for us as Humanitarian Advisory Group, being able to partner with an organisation that is really seen as a thought leader in Bangladesh. And I think our long-term partnership, we were so pleased to be able to work with the UK Humanitarian Innovation Hub, to be able to, you know, bring the three of us together and being able to tackle something that's happening in real time, and to try and get a handle on what does it mean and what does this mean for organisations in Bangladesh as we're going forward. So the purpose of this evening is really to help you to get across some of the fascinating findings that came out of this research, and to really understand what this means for Bangladesh at such a critical time. And, you know, and again, it was critical before we had certain decisions coming out of the US, but really trying to understand how can we make sense of this, and how can we look at what is our circle of influence, and how can we actually take forward and work with some of these key findings that came out of this piece of research. So I wanted to touch base. I really like when we think about who is this United Kingdom Humanitarian Innovation Hub. And I love that they say we bring together diverse perspectives and expertise to deliver pioneering research and innovation that supports humanitarian action around the world. And very much I feel like that's what we've been able to do as part of, to be able to be involved in something that may provide insights and recommendations for agencies as they're dealing with key challenges right now. We might actually come back to you, Adrienne, and we might just go to Suman so we can understand a little bit more about the research. So the outline is for us to be able to hear about what some of those key findings are, and then we're going to be able to have a discussion and really ask some curly questions. And we're very keen for you to have a think about some questions you would like to ask Suman as he goes through this research, because we're very keen to hear the kind of things that are on your mind, and we can unpack a little bit more. So I'll hand over to you now, Suman. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Thank you, Suman. Loud and clear.
Thank you very much. And I'm very happy seeing this audience today, though this is very much specific to Bangladesh, but I can see many people all around the globe actually joined to see and learn about what is happening in Bangladesh, and how the people in Bangladesh actually looking forward to their future. in disaster management and humanitarian actions in Bangladesh. So just repeating what Beth was saying, thank you everyone, particularly our partners here joined today, and we've been working for last 4 months to come to today's presentation with all our hard work and everything. So let me start with the research itself. As you can see in the slides, the research, everybody was saying, this is a result of partnership with Australia, UK, and Bangladesh. Together, we come up this piece of work looking forward to Bangladesh disaster management and humanitarian potentials. And as it has been said, the particular purpose of this study was to explore opportunity while the change in the political context in Bangladesh, and the interim government is actually going through a process of reform of different sectors. We've been thinking that this is an opportunity to bring forward what people think the reform areas in the in humanitarian and disasters management in Bangladesh. So whatever we find in this particular study is not really the new anything. It's more of kind of having people's perception, experience, and their views on what should be the priority in disaster management and humanitarian sector in Bangladesh. The overall research question we've been looking forward: how can humanitarian system in the current political climate in Bangladesh shift to better meet the need of current and future population of affected crisis? So you can see that currently the Bangladesh is one of the largest refugee hosting country, along with climatic challenges. For last year, Bangladesh faces devastating floods in 3 parts of the countries and 2 mid-level cyclones in the country. So it's a growing need of an efficient system in Bangladesh for humanitarian response and the disaster management. So as I have been saying, the methodology was very much clear and straightforward. This is a kind of a qualitative research. We didn't look at the numbers or figures or percentages, rather than talk with people, get their views, experience, and perceptions, their recommendations, and analyze those information in a qualitative mode. We studied and reviewed 30 documents, have 12 interviews at different level, from the recent flood affected people, and also with the Rohingya affected people communities in Cox's Bazar. We also talked to the technical experts and the bureaucratic leaders on the ground with their interviews at different level, from national, district, and the sub-district level. And as I said, the community consultation, 6 community consultation with the Cox's Bazar Rohingya community, Cox's Bazar host community, and particularly with the Noakhali district flood affected people. They've been affected on the September. And then we have a workshop with the people who've been involved in disaster management and humanitarian response in the country over few decades. So they also give us the sense making of the findings and the studies. And finally, just 10 days back, we have a national level round table of citizens discussing the findings and promoting it with the people relevant in the decision making. And the most importantly, the niche of this particular study, this been designed and approach with the local views that as insights the organization in Bangladesh we are working here. Our analytical views, objectives is very much loaded in the methodology of these studies. So we can claim that this is, though we have international partners here, but this is a local-led, locally implemented study that reflect the views, perceptions, and expectation from the ground people. And then going back to the context of these studies, as I have been saying, and that over the last 15 years, though, well, let me articulate like this, though Bangladesh are one of the leading disaster management expertise country with experience from ground level to national level, but over the last 15 years, the country have been going through kind of a self-contentness and feeling like we have achieved enough without transforming according to the need and progress of the whole sector in the countries in the disaster management area. For example, the new vulnerability and challenges of disaster management been evolving in Bangladesh, like heat wave or urban disasters and these kind of things. But our disaster management policy and procedures and management not really adopting those challenges, instead very much living in the past. So with the change of the political context, as you can see in the screen, this is an opportunity where the current government also expressing their interest of hearing from the people. And we are then coming into the scene that, yes, this is the thing that we need to raise with the government. So before going into the study findings and other thing, for the people who are not really familiar with the disaster management structure in Bangladesh, let me say something about it. We have a Disaster Management Act. And one of the key documents we have, which is a standing order on disaster management, which is the kind of leading implementing document for Bangladesh disaster management for government and non-government all. So this standing order on disaster management actually propose several disaster management committees as various level of government and local government. You can see in this structure that at the very top level, there is the National Disaster Management Council, and then the minister level disaster management and Ministry of Disaster Management, who actually lead the National Disaster Management Response Coordination Group, and then advised by an advisory council and the Interministerial Disaster Management Coordination Committee. As an appendix, if you say, as an additional extended hand, CPP, the Cyclone Preparedness Program Policy Committee, at the top in the national level, the strategic decision-making bodies in Bangladesh. And then we have those various disaster management committee at the administrative and local level, local government level slabs, which is like at the ground level, the World Disaster Management Committee is an elected body, then the Union Disaster Management, again an elected local government. Upazila Disaster Management Committee, which is kind of the mixed of elected local people and also with the administrative central government administrations bureaucrats. And that's then upward in the district level disaster management committee is completely led by the government bureaucrats on the ground. And now on the next slide, I would this is the slide where we try to summarize the findings and the issues that we grouped in four particular headlines. So, and which I'll be elaborated in the next slides. So you can see the four group. One is decentralization and evaluation of elevation of local leadership, disaster management, professionalization, and strengthening data management, effective coordination, and long-term thinking, which is like disaster humanitarian development nexus strategy of the government for the future. So when we talk about this first priority is decentralization and elevation of local leadership, we actually say what we see on the ground, people been talking about, is the local leadership, lack of local leadership, more of the current context or the whatever written in the documents or in the policy procedure and anywhere. Basically, the practice on the ground is the centralized power and decision making in disaster management. And there is blurred kind of the boundaries between administrative, political, and disaster response functions. And those actually result in ineffectiveness and lack of transparency and resulting corruption and diverse the aid. For example, there is a very common kind of the reflection from the ground people was that the aid actually is distributed to the affected people, rather than aids are being diverted to the political allied or politically selected peoples. Like a common word in Bangladesh, we say voter bank. So people who actually vote the political leaders, they get the government humanitarian aid more. Mechanism affected and about those discrepancies, about those grievances on the ground, there is no mechanism. There was not mechanism, and still there is no mechanism for making this complaint. So the complaint feedback mechanism that's been heavily talking nowadays in the humanitarian sector, there is a complete absence of it on the ground. Local actors have limited space or opportunity for participating and lead. Mainly, as we found on the ground, is two kind of the power, like administrative power and the political power, are dominating those decisions. And when those administrative power and the political power come together, they supplement each other, and the ground people left behind or left affected by the disasters. So when we discuss those things, we ask about what could be the solution. And most of the people actually saying that separation of political and operational functions, improving independent about rules and prevent political interference. For example, the standing order on disaster management in Bangladesh that I have been talking earlier, which is kind of a Bible in disaster management in Bangladesh, talk about included the local MPs, the member of parliament, as an advisor in different disaster management committees, and that this advisory role is not defined. So the political person actually hugely influence the decision making rather than the committee. So these are the reality on the ground. And thus we say a possible solution would be bottom-up decentralization approach and practicing good governance within the committees and thinking about the check and balance within the committees and activating those committees on the ground. from union disaster management committees up to the district disaster management committees, because they are the main implementing arms of the humanitarian actions in Bangladesh. The second priority that we have been discussing in the next slide is the professionalization and strengthening data management. So we coupled these two things together because this is kind of implementing level challenge with the profession, with the people there who are doing the exact work on the ground. When we say this professionalization, we mean that we recognize the humanitarian and disaster management is a evolving professional and technical area, and also an academic area. And there's been a lot of knowledge and expertise been growing over the years in the globally, and Bangladesh is one of them. But very rarely people involved in disaster management in Bangladesh are most of the very generalist administration people. Though the DDM, the Directorate of Disaster Management, was designed at the beginning as a technical hub, but they are dominated by project management and very rarely giving any technical expertise and knowledge input on the country's disaster management and implementation. So we are saying we find adequate technical capacity and competencies of officials responsible for disaster management, including due to the limited impact of existing capacity building approach, limit effective needs assessment and priorities. So we particularly saying here this existing capacity building approach. There's been a huge investment in capacity building in disaster management in Bangladesh, but the approach itself could be reviewed again. The short 3 days training is not enough for maintaining and managing a professional disaster management and humanitarian response on the ground. Low capacity among the district and sub-district disaster management section, particularly we are talking about this district level relief and rehabilitation officer or the Upazila level project implementation officials. They are clearly in lack of capacity of up-to-date or up to the latest disaster management knowledge and capacities. So their capacity building need to be invested. That have been actually happening, but the approach of the capacity building could be reviewed once and giving enough the systematic long-term achievable capacity building and visible impact of the capacity building. And we are also coupling this capacity building with data management. And this is a common thing we get from a lot of people, though Bangladesh is having the digital changes in various ways, but data on the ground, risk data, vulnerable data, or the implementation data, or the beneficiary data, it is a big gap there. So we are proposing the capacity building and data management, data solution, and database decision making on the ground and for the as a priority for disaster management and humanitarian sector improvement in the Bangladesh. The third priority which you find is in the next slide you can see is the effective coordination and innovative financing. Well, in Bangladesh, right now, you can see in terms of coordination is a big, mismatch of the documents that are written and on the ground. For example, the humanitarian crisis in Cox's Bazar have a complete different set of management and coordination, while the national level is another set of coordination and information management and everything. And again, the international humanitarian response system, which is led by HCTT, Humanitarian Country Task Team in Bangladesh, is a separate parallel than the SOD proposed disaster management in Bangladesh. And there is a big, is a kind of silos and parallel involvement. Though theoretically they said those things are co-lead, they are consultative, they are, and lot many other things. But in reality, if you look at the HCTT report, you can't see any reflection of government response information in their document. On the other hand, if you look at the SOD-led system, system reports, you'll find no information about the international response HCTT information on the paper. And there is a big gap between those. So this needs to be solved, that building a unified kind of coordination system with national, international, region, and everywhere. And secondly, underfunded humanitarian plans is, for over the last few years, the HCTT planned this humanitarian response plan is very low funded, is very minimum funding. So that's giving a kind of a notice that in future is going to be more crisis of funding. So we need to look at different sources of funding for this for future disaster and humanitarian response. And on the national level, coordination as a possible solution, we said that they create a more complementary approach to the international humanitarian system and government-led system at the national and subnational level, and source and track humanitarian and disaster financing in align with the forthcoming national disaster financing strategy. And the final one is the kind of, though we are saying is the all eyes on the horizon, but basically what we are talking, that's humanitarian response, looking at the future, looking at the humanitarian development nexus approach of working, and building more resilience through development program for humanitarian, and again through humanitarian to development goals. And historically, Bangladesh have been doing those things, but on the ground, there are finding a big disconnection in Cox's Bazar particularly. So it's more of a political and diplomatic decision and support also for this humanitarian development nexus on the ground, and absence of cohesive exacerbation inequalities for communities. For example, in Cox's Bazar, for host community, you have separate kind of the coordination management with the district administration. For Rohingya community, you have different set of administration and the management under the JRP, Joint Response Plan of RRC, which is Rohingya Refugee Repatriation Commissioner. So there are clear silos working there. Those need to be think now differently, so that in the future, in the long run, we get more sustainable result and resilience of the ground people. And as a solution, as we say, that's a strong advocacy we need to join up diplomatic engagement with the government of Bangladesh. Is not we and there, it's the humanitarian human problem for the human rights. I'm stopping here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Suman. Wow, they're just such rich findings there. You mentioned, Suman, that the findings of the study were not new. However, I would like to ask you, what was most surprising to you as you worked on this study?
Well, I have been working in the sector in Bangladesh, particularly for last 32 years. And as I said, those are actually people been talking about those, people being aware about those. But because of the political kind of the context, people were not very much opening up, while the earlier government been very enthusiastic in publicizing the achievements rather than looking at the improvement areas. So people actually not really talking about this. So those are the known things, particularly not surprise me. These are actually not none of those actually new. There are many others to work on those, on humanitarian and disaster management in Bangladesh. But these are the 4 priority that people been talking about.
Excellent. Thank you. Now, I am going to invite everyone, if they have a question, please do pop that in the chat. I'm going to introduce you now to Sumi, but I'm sure many of you had some reactions, some thoughts to what Suman was presenting earlier, perhaps some questions or comments. Pop those in the chat and we'll go to those questions after I introduce you to Sumi. So now I would like to bring into the conversation Sumi Akter Shewly. And Sumi is the Executive Director of Educo's Humanitarian Response in Cox's Bazar and a member of the Cox's Bazar NGO platform. So I would like to ask you, Sumi, first, as head of Educo's Humanitarian Response in Cox's Bazar, which humanitarian reform priority resonates the most with you and why?
Am I audible? Because I was lost my electricity for that reason connected with the mobile network.
No
So
problem.
I can start, right? Yeah,
We can hear you loud and clear, Sumi. How are you?
it's okay. It's fine. That was the nice presentation from the Suman Bhai. So I can start from my end to discuss about the humanitarian response, what it is happening in the Cox's Bazar. Before going to start the things to talk, I would like to thanks to be part of this webinar. Especially thanks goes to Humanitarian Advisory Group Insights, Humanitarian Innovation Hub, UK International Development, and for arranging kind of webinar to discuss kind of whatever the things are actually they collected from the ground level and different stakeholders. And started my discussion that I would like to share my position, what it is there. That this is Sumi Ahsanul Islam, Head of Humanitarian Response at Educo in Bangladesh. Alongside, I have the leadership role in the NGO platform in Cox's Bazar and ROCT. ROCT stand for the Refugee Cooperation and Coordination team in the Cox's Bazar that is in place. In this session, I would like to share some overview on this report and the humanitarian situation from my experience. Before going to start these things, would like to say about my organization, in what way we are actually working, particularly for the Rohingya response. Educo is a global development and humanitarian organization based on Barcelona, Spain. We are actually 30 more than 30 years working experience in 18 countries, and Asia, Africa, Latin America, and Europe. We have planned towards where the children fully enjoy their rights and lead their life with the dignity. In Bangladesh, we started working in 1999, and right now, Educo is working with the 11 district, and we have 17 partners, local partners in the field level to promoting the localizations for that reason. Coming to the Cox's Bazar issues is there. Right now, we have actually the prioritized program is the education, protection, adolescent and youth empowerment, and the governance. So Educo started working in Cox's Bazar 2019 when the influx started in 20. Though we have footprint in bit early 2019, but it started directly in 2019 early. I actually listened proper way that 4 priorities that was mentioned in the uh, mentioned in the research document, that decentralization and elevation of local leadership, disaster management, professionalization, and strengthening the data management, long term nexus approach need to be effective coordination, innovative financing, giving the priority to the first, decentralization and strengthening the local leadership. Working in Cox's Bazar with the both Rohingya and hostel community, local actors poses actually the good understanding of communities' need, cultural dynamics, and the overall operational challenges. By decentralizing humanitarian response and the promoting local leadership, we can foster more inclusive, sustainable, and the context-specific intervention that would be good for them. So whatever they have the pain inside that they actually wanted to tell in the report, so these things can be figure out their leadership to be more open in the page, that they can actually can ownership can create from this. Apart from that, other priorities are equally vital. Like this, for instance, nexus approach is most important, need to be in the response projects in there is very much effective and crucial to addressing right now. And because it is, we are saying that the protected crisis for that reason, Educo also is going with this strategy and its program to promoting localizations through partnership that aim to ensure durable solution and aligned funding mechanism to bridging the gaps that is also mentioned in the report as well. Similarly, effective coordination and innovation in financing are essential to sustainable humanitarian response. Along with the government structure, Educo's prioritize integrated coordination frameworks, diverse funding mechanism, stream, and the centralized resource making, that is most tracking. It's most important as well, because we know, also mentioned in Suman Bhai's presentation, that decline, the fund is gradually decreasing, and we are in a challenge actually. So joint initiative, even the resource sharing is most important. And lastly, we have to say that professionalizing disaster management, data management is the most important actually. Yes, I agree with this part, that in gap, when the data we found the gap, the technical capacity and unreliable data, it's impacted quality something in the community level, and even when the prepare the project and contextualized project, when we just prepare that time, it is actually we face challenges to what we can get the proper data that is required to develop the community driven project actually. So improving these things, Educo focus on the building local expertise, improving data collection, and promoting diversity in disaster management roles to address these challenges. In all of the humanitarian reform priorities, Educo and all other humanitarian actors need to align with the government structures, prioritize and align with the SDG and the principle of core humanitarian standard that we said, to ensure overall transparency and accountability. That is most important. And saying and for these particular things, we are actually, some actors are working here. If I say from the government, that is mentioned already, Triple RC is there, Refugee Relief and Repatriation Commissioner, District Commissioner, local government. We have some platforms, NAHAB is there, and HTCC is there. We have NGO platform, being ROCT is there in the Cox's Bazar. All are active actually, but the coordination is most important to prioritize the things, and how we can actually figure out, navigate the challenges in the community is there. And in the local level, how we can build capacity, the local leaders, that they are actually wanted to seek the support from us to get the funds and to implement in the community level. That is most important. And for this purpose, we feel that we have to priority some things are there, capacity building through capacity assessment process. As we said, the broader aspect, the capacity building. In what aspect? That aspect actually need to analysis by the capacity assessment. That would be good to then we can make a proposal that this kind of gaps are in the community level is required in the local leaders. So based on that, we can just implement the some activities are there. Strengthening the joint monitoring mechanism. He mentioned in his report that we have some process, some system is there, but it is not active, not it is proactively managing. So for that reason, some capacity is required for the local actors are there, so that they can operate, they can understand how it is going in what way, because it's part of the accountability for that reason. Strengthening the governance system, that is most important. Being accountable in any process is there in the response activities. Promoting localization through effective partnership. We have to think that, as we cannot say that they have no capacity, we need to prioritize first. We have to consider the local partners, and in what way they can be part of these things, then we can set them. And like the pool fund is going there from the BRAC, and they are providing support to the to capacity building training to the local partners, so that they can be capacitated, and even they can get the funds directly from the donors. So different kind of donors are there, they can get the capacity building training, even they can get the training fund directly from the donors as well. And from this, we are the mid levels, and we can support them to how they can get this fund from the donors as well. Even the flexible funding mechanism that allow to local driven solution, that would be most important. By working together, we can foster the humanitarian response that is more accountable, inclusive, and better equipped address to evaluating needs to a vulnerable community in Bangladesh. That I feel is most important. We know that in the particularly in the Cox's Bazar, 1 million people we are supporting, apart from whose communities they are affected, whose community. So it's not the small things are there. So a huge number of actors are there. So the coordination gap, it is in not in of all part it is happening, but to some extent it's happening. But that actually need to remove, and for that reason we have to work together. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shumi. I'm going to pick up on something that you mentioned, and we've got a couple of comments on this in the chat. So I'd like to ask you, and Suman, I would also like to get your reflections as well. And that is around the issue of accountability. And I think this is a really great comment here from Lawrence, which is really about looking at the importance of robust and confidential feedback mechanisms, but also that accountability goes further than that. It's not just a feedback mechanism, it's closing the loop. The importance that accountability has, and how accountability really is related very strongly with coordination as well. Shumi, I'd love to know from your point of view, what are your thoughts around how accountability can be strengthened, but also what would you like to see international organizations doing more in the space of accountability? What advice do you have for them? I mean, you've told us so much interesting information from the point of view of Bangladeshi and local organizations. How would you like to see international organizations working on accountability that would support your work further?
Thank you. In lens of the accountability, that actually, the CHS is there, core humanitarian standard, the principle is there. We know that all the time we feel that the political part should not be part of the humanitarian activities. It would be out of that. So that actually we actually expecting from our actors that those are actually involved in this humanitarian field they are working, and to keep in standard, though the system is there, but the execution is depend on actually the actors, in what way they have the mandate. It's depend on them. In our organization, we are actually having the system in there, in the community level, in the partners level. So we frequently we do the monitoring system is there, and we have some capacity building. We just ask them the what type of capacity building they required. We cannot feel that the local level leaders they need the capacity. We have to understand they have the capacity already, but in what way that can be fostered, that can be placed on the table. That is the main thing. That in what way I am saying. So that is the lens I actually believe, that the local people they can be part of the local actors and even the international from there. That can be possible when the joint coordination and understanding, common understanding would be there. The system that is need to be find out the gaps where if we think that the standard it is not enough, then we have to work there. The contextuality standard can be considered in this way. Like we cannot do the same thing everywhere. The context is the main thing. So the country's context, the cultural context, the community context most important. So based on that, we can do. We have policy, we have guidelines, we have the agreement sit there. So context, whatever we have, so based on that we have to do that. I believe that in the if I say that in the Cox's Bazar, then it is most important for the coordination from the all level. It's most important, and the one standard can be followed from the sectors that could be monitored in proper way. That is the main thing. That is sometimes it is maybe it's having the gap. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shumi. Now, Shuman, I'm actually going to tweak your question a bit so I can gather a couple of the other thoughts in the chat. And after I get your reflection, Shuman, I will throw to Adrienne for some last comments and some information about UK HIH. Shuman, what I would love, there's a couple of great questions here, both from Abdul, but a really excellent one also from Hassan, which is really around, as you mentioned, some of the things that came out of the research perhaps were not surprising, but I would love your thoughts on, do you feel that authorities are now more open perhaps to doing things differently? And I want to throw in Abdul's question here as well. If we're thinking about doing things differently, how about including different types of organizations in responses? And in terms of when we're looking at decentralizing and localizing, do you feel that government and various authorities are open to doing things differently and to having a range of different organizations, I guess both national and international, and as Abdul is saying as well, refugee-led organizations as well? Any thoughts you have on that would be very interesting. Thank you, Shubha.
Thank you very much, everyone, for those nice questions indeed. Well, the political context will change, but this current government is not a revolutionary government. We are continuing with the bureaucrats who've been working earlier with the last government. So government themselves are actually struggling over the last 6 months of taking grip and control of the whole situation themselves. And everybody is kind of agreed that, well, an elected government is at the right position of making a sustainable changes. However, the current government is recognizing that we need change and reform and improvement. And they are actually collecting people's voice, hearing to people's voice, where the actual need that can be at least started by the current government, which will be later would be handed over to the next elected government. So this is the current political context is in Bangladesh. So yes, as the chief of the government, current government, Dr. Yunus said, talk about the improvement areas, talk about us, and talk about the need of changes and reforms. Number of reform commission been organized in the country. Last 2 weeks, we are observing the different reform commissions submitted their reports to the government, and that's been publicly been shared. One of the most important reform commission report, which is Public Administration Reform Commission, they actually mentioned about the disaster management sectoral change in their report, but that is very minimum, only 3 sentences in the whole 68 or some pages report, only 3 sentences they write about the disaster management reform. So here is the scope. This study actually is the scope to talk more elaborately about the reform agenda for disaster management and humanitarian assistance administration in Bangladesh. I think that clarify one thing. And secondly, I think these accountability and complaint mechanism issues that a question came in. What we hear from people that and that come into a broader picture, the local-led humanitarian response, particularly local-led, government-supported humanitarian response, which is distributed and managed by the local government, by the local administrations. And there we say that if there is a locally led in a real sense, without influence of partisan political issues, without influence of corruptions, if there is a local led, more systematic response, people will have a voice with their local leaders. We also hear from people, probably the report did not capture all, there could be separate organization, which I remember one of the district level relief and rehabilitation officer was saying, they were actually appointed a separate monitoring organization who've been looking at the relief distribution thing on the ground and reporting back. So could be kind of a separate organization, might be government or non-government, could be useful here for doing the complaint mechanism and accountability monitoring of the things. Is kind of a separation of responsibility. It's not like who is doing the implementing and they are doing the monitoring. Could be that. Also could be in technology-based solutions. So there are a lot of it might be. People been talking about their ideas. We have this very quick report with a small research with a small report. So probably everything didn't come. We tried to capture things in a broader strategic level. Thank you.
Thank you, Shuman. And I love what you're saying about almost bringing independence into accountability. It's such an exciting area. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. We're almost at time. Please let me just take one more minute of your time so that we can hear from UK HIH, because I think it's really important that you know about this organization and the kind of work that they do. There's a whole range of other exciting things that you can learn from them and the wonderful work that they partner on. So I'll hand over to you, Adrian. Thank you.
Thank you, and apologies for the internet connection issues earlier on. So thank you to Shuman and the HAG and Insights team for a really interesting presentation and a very large topic taken on and made more digestible for all of us. Just to say something about how and why this project was funded, the UK Humanitarian Innovation Hub works together to bring together diverse perspectives and expertise, and doing that to deliver pioneering research and innovation to support humanitarian action globally. This report is one of two under the leadership of HAG, and it's under the Humanitarian Rapid Research Initiative, which we run to facilitate real-time research and convening around major new and evolving crises. And of course, this report was sparked by the political change last August in Bangladesh. It's worth saying that we work in partnership to invest in collaborative process of research and learning. And this is to strengthen humanitarian policy and operational responses in real time. And I think that the team have done an exceptional job here to make such a complex and changeable situation, quite digestible with very actionable recommendations from the research. The graphic here shows some of the other reports that we've done recently. The Somali capacities in response to crises has delivered some fascinating insights on how communities respond to both conflict and natural disasters. The Navigating Ethical Dilemmas in Humanitarian Action in Afghanistan actually led to Humanitarian's guide to having deliberations around ethical dilemmas in practical work for humanitarians. Something that I'd just like to refer to that Beth mentioned at the beginning is just that we're at a time where both wider in the world as well as in the humanitarian system, we're experiencing critical shocks with funding cuts and halted operations, and the big reverberations that are affecting the most vulnerable people. And I think it's timely in a way to be considering how the humanitarian sector can adapt and respond and learn lessons from Bangladesh, with the opportunity here for humanitarian reform in this sector, but also what could be extrapolated from that in other settings as well. So I'd just like to conclude by saying thank you to HAG and Insights for doing this piece of rapid research and delivering actionable insights that we can all take away and reflect on and hopefully take action within our work. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, Adrienne, and absolutely action is the word. I would like to, big thanks to UKHIH, a big thanks to you, Sumi, for jumping on. Your reflections were very valuable, and Suman for leading this work. I really hope you also have been just a phenomenal audience. Thanks for sticking with us and giving us a few extra minutes of your time. We hope that this has been useful for you. Please head to the Insights HAG or UKHIH website to look at some of these reports and reach out if you want to engage any further. But we hope this has been useful for you. We wish you the best in the rest of your day and week. And please do connect with us, and we hope to see you next time when we have a webinar. So take care. Thank you very much. We'll close the webinar now. Thank you. Bye-bye.